Buttercream versus sugar paste. I feel that this is going to be a battle that will forever be in the cake industry. Is sugar paste better? Is buttercream better? Let's talk about it. Before we talk about it, let's get into some definitions. So, buttercream is a covering, can be used as a covering, and it involves butter, as the name suggests. Your basic buttercream, I would say, is probably American buttercream, which is icing sugar and butter mixed together to create this spreadable icing. There are other variations. There's Swiss meringue buttercream, which involves egg white, Italian meringue buttercream as well, and there are some other ones, but those are probably the sort of the three main ones. What I find is that a lot of cake makers tend to use Swiss meringue because American buttercream can be quite sweet, and I kind of agree with them that American buttercream can be quite sweet. When used to bake, and sometimes I still bake now, I tend to use American buttercream because it's quite easy to make, but I don't do the whole sort of 1 to 2 ratio. So normally the ingredients for American buttercream would be 500 grams of butter and 1 kilogram of icing sugar. I find that combination too sweet. So my version of American buttercream is 250 grams of butter and 350 grams of icing sugar. And I find that that combination is not as sweet. So that's, if you want a buttercream recipe, that's the buttercream recipe for you to use. Sugar paste is, it's edible dough, so it's very malleable. It tends to be it's made up of sugars. Well, I don't know all the ingredients of sugar paste, but it's a malleable dough that is easy to use to cover cakes, and it gives a really smooth canvas. Now, what a lot of people say about sugar paste is that, oh, it doesn't taste very nice. I don't think that sugar paste is there for you to eat. So you can eat it, but it's to give that smooth finish that buttercream sometimes doesn't. So which one is better? I mean, I don't think you can say one is better than the other. I think it depends what you want. When I used to do my cakes, I kind of started out doing sugar paste and buttercream finishes on my cakes, and then I quickly decided I didn't want to work with sugar paste. One thing with sugar paste, especially in the summer, sugar paste, it just, the texture of it can change so much. And I would be battling with it, trying to keep it smooth, trying to make sure it doesn't crack. I just hated using it. I found buttercream so much easier, even though the summer can affect buttercream, but in general I found it easier. One thing about buttercream though, it can be a pain to get a smooth finish because you crumb coat your cake, you cover it with buttercream, and then it's a case of, getting your scraper, dipping it in hot water, wiping it, and then you're doing the whole turning the cake and placing the scraper on to get as smooth finish as possible. And that can take forever. And even when you think it's completely smooth, you're like, oh, there's a little bit of a mark there. Oh, there's a little bit of mark there. Whereas with sugar paste, it's a lot easier. But I tended with a lot of my cakes is I kind of did textured buttercream. So I kind of got away with it not being as smooth. But there are some bakers who are doing some really beautiful buttercream work in terms of how smooth it is and the decoration. So it is possible to get really smooth buttercream. Sugar paste, on the other hand, is very easy to get a smooth finish. You cover your cake and then you get your smooth and you just smooth it around. It's a lot easier. I just like the aesthetic of buttercream personally myself. It's not to say that I never use sugar paste. I tended to use it for elements. So if I was making like a buttercream cake and I wanted flowers, I would make the flowers out of sugar paste. So I know you can make flowers out of buttercream, but I tended to make it out of sugar paste. So it's not to say I completely didn't use sugar paste. I did, but mainly for elements. But one type of cake that I do use sugar paste to cover with is my fruit cakes. Now, fruit cakes, you tend to cover with sugar paste or raw icing. I've never delved into raw icing, and from what I've seen about it, it just looks too complicated for me. So yes, sugar paste on my fruitcakes, okay, it's not too much of a hassle because you have the cake, then you put the marzipan on top, and then you put the sugar paste on top. That's fine. And the thing is with my fruitcakes, they're not that high. I think what used to scare me is that if you have a really tall cake and then you got to put sugar paste on, it's like you're just worried that covering it and it's going to split. Though there is a way to do that called the paneling method, which is a way of putting sugar paste on really tall cakes. But because I kind of stopped putting sugar paste on my tall cakes, I never really sort of got into that. So in conclusion, is one better than the other? It depends what you want. I'm team buttercream, I think, in terms of finish on cakes, and I always will be. But there are, like I said, there are people who are making some beautiful, beautiful cakes with sugar paste finish. And I think sugar paste is a lot more versatile than buttercream, but I will always be team buttercream. So let me know in the comments, are you team buttercream or are you team sugar paste? Until next time, cake lovers.